This is a really challenging thing in television. We get to the end of a season and we get these explosive episodes at the end of a season where everything changes. But when we come back for season 2, we need to feel like we're in the same show again. We want that feeling of both the same and also different again. So we're going to be talking about how season 2 of The Last of Us resets the engine despite the tremendous changes that have happened at the end of season 1. I'm Jacob Kruger, and this is the Write Your Screenplay podcast. On this podcast, rather than criticizing movies and TV shows 2 thumbs up or 2 thumbs down, we talk about what we can learn from them as screenwriters. And along the way, we learn the tools to not only write better screenplays, but also to live better lives as artists. On this episode, we are going to be talking about The Last of Us Season 2. If you've listened to my podcast on White Lotus Season 3, then you're already familiar with the concept of engine. Well, we're going to be taking that concept even further. Now, as of the recording of this episode, only episode 4 has aired so far, and most of our conversation is going to be focused on episode 2. There is going to be a spoiler here that you do not want to know. So hit pause, go watch episode 2, and then come back. There may be some light spoilers of episodes 3 and 4, but nothing major, and I will warn you before we get there. Now, before we launch into that, I want to talk to you about our newest and most exciting offering, the Jacob Kruger Studio. It's a class called 7-Act Structure. It's a class that my students have been asking me to teach for years. Now, if you already taken my Write Your Screenplay class or my Write Your TV series class, you're already grounded in this concept of 7-act structure about how to build a script organically. But what we do in the 7-act structure class, each week we look at a different movie and we break down the 7-act structure so that you can see how the movie was built, not by reverse engineering it, but how it was actually grown from the blank page. We then take those concepts and learn how to apply it to your own writing. And the class culminates with a one-on-one consultation with a professional writer who will look over the structure of your movie and help you take it where it needs to go. And like all of our classes, it's live online from anywhere in the world. You can participate live, you can ask questions, and you also get free replays for a full month after the class ends, and you never have to worry about missing a session. So you can find more about that and all of our offerings at writeyourscreenplay.com. Okay, let's talk about The Last of Us. Now, if you've listened to my previous podcast on The Last of Us, you know how this show works. Part of the brilliance of The Last of Us is that literally anybody can die. This is how the show is built. Throughout season 1, at the end of every episode, someone that you didn't think could die is going to die. And what this does emotionally is it creates a feeling in us that mirrors the feelings of the characters in the show. This feeling of great anxiety that literally nothing is safe. It builds the tension and the stakes, right? This is what's so brilliant about Craig Mazin's writing, right? It builds the tension and the stakes around which these beautiful little stories of familial and romantic love can bloom, right? Like a flower blooming in the post-apocalyptic desert, right? That's a pretty amazing feat. And it's all served by this one simple idea. Anybody can die. We're going to make you fall in love with a character. We're going to make you believe that this is one of the main characters. This is the recurring cast. And then we're going to kill them off. Now, this has been done before, of course. This was first done famously in The Wire. But in The Wire, you would spend the whole season with these characters, and then they'd kill them off at the end of the season. It was repeated in Game of Thrones. But again, Game of Thrones would culminate with something like The Red Wedding, right? Where you were following these characters throughout a whole season, and then bang, at the end, suddenly there's mass slaughter. This is a different approach. In this approach, you might fall in love with a character for an episode or two. And based on our understanding, we understand how TV generally works. Generally, the way TV works is we meet a handful of characters, and those are our people. And the entire engine of the show grows out of the unique relationships and the pressure that those characters put on each other. As Jerry Perzigian, our Emmy Award-winning TV comedy guru here at the studio, likes to say, every sitcom is just a family that can't get away from each other. And part of the construction of almost any TV show is, okay, we're building a dysfunctional but beautiful family, and we're going to stick them in a situation where they cannot get away from each other. What Mazin does in his adaptation of The Last of Us, building upon the structure that's already there in the video game, is Mazin blows up those traditional television expectations. He takes it even further than shows like Game of Thrones or The Wire by going, hey, here's your cast. Do you get it? Here's your cast. These are the people we're going to be following. Oh, no, they're dead. Oh, no, they're dead. Oh, no, they're dead. To a point where you literally can't trust anything. In fact, there's only one thing that you feel like you can trust throughout season 1. It's going to be Joel and Ellie. And it's going to be a complicated father-daughter relationship. It's a guy who doesn't want connection because his own daughter died early in this plague. He doesn't want to go through that loss again. And they have to travel on the road from place to place to place, new horror after new horror after new horror, fighting not only zombies, plant zombies, right, but also different complicated mini civilizations that have grown up inside of this post-apocalyptic world, right? So in a way, it's like Star Trek, right? Each episode, we're going to go find a different little civilization with zombies in a post-apocalyptic world. But the only thing that we can trust is one thing. We got Ellie and we got Joel. And that character dynamic is going to draw us through the entire first season. It's the only thing we can depend on, and it's the only thing they can depend on. And this is what's so cool about these creative choices. Again, it puts us in the position of the characters. They live in this world where nearly everyone and nearly everything is trying to kill you. And over the course of the first season, these two distrustful people who are truly cut from the same cloth are going to learn to care for each other. These two loners are going to learn interdependence. Right? These two fiercely independent people are going to learn love in all its complicated ways, right? That's what we're watching. That is the heartbeat of The Last of Us. It's a roadshow. Every episode, different culture, different subculture inside of a post-apocalyptic world, horrific zombie threats, and underneath that all, these little moments where love blooms like a flower in the desert. That is The Last of Us. That's how it works. And literally in the first season, every episode, they kill somebody off until, holy crap, you didn't see this coming. At the end of season 1, there's a moment where you think they killed off Joel. Now, normally, you would never believe they would do that. You know that Joel is the heart of the piece. And it's structured exactly like The Mandalorian. It's the same actor doing the same theme. He doesn't want to take the cute baby Yoda, but he's stuck with him, and he's going to develop a father-child relationship with him. Same thing, right? The heart of the show is Joel and Ellie. Bang. Towards the end of season 1, there's a moment where you think Joel is dead. And we as the audience would be smart enough to know, well, there's no freaking way that's happening. No freaking way. Because that's the heartbeat of the show. That's the engine. They just don't do that. But because they have killed off somebody that you thought they would never kill, literally every episode, by the time we get to that moment in season 1, we actually believe it. And then in the next episode, when they find a way to save Joel, we breathe a sigh of relief, even as the season picks up that same rhythm. We're going to kill somebody you never thought we could kill. We're going to kill somebody you never thought we could kill. You're going to kill somebody you never thought we could kill. That's the way the whole season is built. And now here is a giant spoiler for the end of season 1, but you need to understand it in order to understand what's happening at the beginning of season 2. So we get to the end of season 1 of The Last of Us. And Joel has accomplished both his physical mission and also his emotional mission. And this is what I mean by that. We talked about the idea that The Last of Us, it's a road movie, right? It's these two people traveling. But by the end of season 1, they have found home, right? They have found Jackson, Wyoming, right? This beautiful little civilization in the middle of the nightmare, right? They have found a safe place. They have found stability. They have found a place where they no longer have to keep moving. And emotionally, they have not only found that place where they can be still, Joel has found and reconciled with his long-lost brother. He's also emotionally completed a journey with Ellie. He has come to love her. And in the final episode, he completes the mission that he was given in episode 1, which is to take Ellie to the Fireflies. She is the one person who is immune to the horrible virus that is killing off everybody. And he is going to take her, and the Fireflies are going to draw her blood and make an antiviral that is going to end this horrible apocalypse forever, right? It's going to end the zombie pandemic, and everybody gets to be happy. But upon delivering her, he discovers something he did not know, which is that in order to create the serum, they're going to have to kill her. And season 1 culminates with this horrific act of violence where Joel slaughters an entire hospital full of innocent people in order to save Ellie, the one person he truly cares about. He destroys the mission he was given at the beginning and the fate of all of humanity in order to save this one life. So it's both an act of total selfishness and also an act of total love, right? This is the completion of the emotional journey. Joel has gone from a guy delivering a package to a dad. And Joel has now done for Ellie the thing that he couldn't do for his daughter. He has saved her life. So, we are done. But in being done, our engine is broken, right? It's a road show. But at the end of season 1, they have a home to return to. The whole show is driven by Joel's mission to deliver the package. But by the end of season 1, there's no one left to deliver the package to, right? The people who could have saved the world have all been murdered by Joel. And the characters have reached this place of stability. They are home in their own little paradise. They are safe from the zombies. There is no need to travel, and there is no way to save the world. There is no longer any pressure between the two of them. They are a father and a daughter who love each other. the emotional transaction and the physical transaction of the entire show have been resolved. Now, if you know TV, you know that in TV, we cannot resolve the issues. And so that means at the beginning of season 2, we need to reset the engine. So as we enter the season 2 pilot of The Last of Us, we find ourselves 5 years later. And there is a new threat. There is a woman named Abby, whose father was one of the men that Joel killed at the hospital. And she is out for one thing. She wants revenge. Now, she comes from a splinter group of Fireflies, which is important because part of the engine of The Last of Us is that Ellie's blood, Ellie's life is the thing that could save the world, right? At the end of season 1, the thing that could save the world, that's done. There's no door. So what Craig Mazin is doing at the beginning of season 2 is he's opening a new door. And that new door is, there are more Fireflies, right? If there are more Fireflies, maybe there is somebody else who can make a serum from Ellie. So that's the first element, right? So we have this woman coming for revenge. So we have a new threat added in season 2. We still have the zombie threat, right, which we'll get to in a second. But we have this new woman added who's a new kind of threat and seems to be a central character in the piece. She has a ragtag band of people with her on this revenge mission. And they are good people. And we have a sense that maybe she is a good person too. But she has become twisted by her desire for revenge, and she is forcing them to take actions that they feel uncomfortable with because she wants only one thing in the world, which is to kill Joel. Now, Ellie, of course, has no idea that Joel executed all these Fireflies to save her life. He tells her that they tried and failed to find a cure, and that the hospital was attacked by raiders, and that he saved her life from the raiders, right? So she has no idea, even though there's a taste at the beginning of season 2, that she suspects something is off. Nevertheless, part of the engine of The Last of Us is that there is tension between Joel and Ellie. And that tension is brought back because Ellie and Joel are at odds with each other. Now, really, it's classic, teenager dad stuff, right? She's individuating from him and she's given him a hard time. And there's a taste, again, there's a sense that maybe his overprotectiveness is cramping her life, that he's not letting her be who she fully is, right? And maybe she has a sense that there's some kind of secret he's not sharing with her. Certainly the local therapist has a sense that there is, right? So we have this, we've reset that there's once again a new kind of pressure between the two of them. The last time it was Joel doesn't care about her. Now it's that he cares too much. He has become so protective that she can't be her, right? And again, this is resonant with what's happening in the first season when he won't let her have a gun and all that kind of stuff. He's treating her like a child or like an object, and she wants to be an equal. So we have that level of tension, right? But again, we are in a society and there is no reason to go. And we know we have to get back to being an on-the-road show because that is how The Last of Us works. So somehow we got to reset that engine to get these people back on the road again. So keep that in your mind. There's another element that gets brought back. So in season 1, right, we have the zombie threat. But the town has become completely insulated from the zombies. They're so good at dealing with them that we don't have a zombie apocalypse show anymore, really. We really have a show about a little utopia. So in this episode, there is a new zombie threat, or to use the parlance of the show, there's a new infected threat. There are now certain infecteds that seem to be able to think, to strategize, to plan. So what's happened is the zombie threat has leveled up, right? We know something is coming. And we also find out that in this pipe that they are trying to repair, there is some kind of weird plant root stuff going on. And if we happen to remember from season 1, we might know that the infected can actually communicate through root systems, just like plants do. So we have a feeling that the safety of the world is being infiltrated right there in the pilot. And we have a new level of threat, an infected that can think, right? So we've leveled that up. Mason is also pulling another element from season 1, which is we know that Ellie is attracted to women. And if we remember the episode at the mall from season 1, we know that there was a really beautiful love story in the past that ended with horrific tragedy when her girlfriend was infected. And over the course of the pilot, we're going to see that there's a relationship, a complicated one, between Ellie and her best friend, Dina, right? So that relationship from season 1 is now the past is being made present, right? Where there's a new love interest. And it's complicated because she's in this off again, on again, off again, on again relationship with Jesse, a guy. And she has a father-daughter relationship with Joel, who Ellie's not getting along with. And Ellie is obviously attracted to her, but doesn't even imagine that Dina's attracted back until drunk surprise kiss on the dance floor suddenly opens a door for something else. So we have a love story, right? And what we're expecting, because we know the way this show works, they're going to make you fall in love with this character and then she's going to die. Somebody's going to die. We're going to lose somebody in episode 1. But the show plays a little bait and switch on us. Because we don't. We get to the end of episode 1 and nobody we love has died. And we start to wonder, is this show going a little soft? Is the show letting us off the hook? And Mason's taking a little risk here that you couldn't get away with in season 1, right? Almost all of the season 2 pilot is just resetting the engine of the world, just stacking the pieces, establishing the new world, and stacking the pieces so we can knock them down in episode 2. In your writing, if you're in the first season of a series, or if you're writing a series that doesn't have a mass following like The Last of Us does, you can't get away with the kind of slow pilot that establishes stuff. You just can't. But The Last of Us, Mason has already earned our trust, right? We already love him. We already know that he's going to deliver for us. And he already has such a huge fan base that he gets to do some slow-moving stuff that he wouldn't normally get away with. And he gets to, what seems like, break his own engine by having a pilot where you're just waiting for Dina to die, and she doesn't. This brings us into episode 2. And there's one more element I should talk about. We're waiting for Dina to die as these two friends take risks with each other and the infected and discover this new, more dangerous form of infected. But who actually gets bit is not Dina, but Ellie, who, of course, is immune. This is there for two reasons. Number one, to remind any new viewers or anyone who doesn't remember that Ellie is immune, but also to establish that Dina doesn't know that Ellie is immune, which is going to matter later. Okay, so these are all the elements that we have going into episode 2, and we are surprised because nobody dies. And this allows us to go, we actually feel relief, right? Because we've been through all of season 1, and we know how brutal this show can be. We know how this show sets us up to fall in love and to feel safe, and then takes away what feels most precious to us. So we are waiting to be hurt by this show, and the show doesn't hurt us. And the effect of that is that as we get into episode 2, we start to let down our guard a little bit. And this is, of course, Craig Mazin and Neil Druckmann setting us up for what's going to happen in episode 2. Now, this is the big spoiler, right? It's coming. So again, if you have not watched episode 2, you don't want to hear what's going to happen. Okay, so here's what happens in episode 2. In episode 1, Mazin and Druckmann are setting up the pieces so that in episode 2 they can knock them down. Abby, in her quest for revenge against Joel, ends up accidentally awakening thousands of infected that are living under the snow. And this sets off an attack on Jackson like they have never seen, right? An unbelievable force, an unbelievable influx. And not only is it an influx, but it seems like some of these just maybe can think. There is an epic, badass battle scene that, by the way, we were promised in season 1, right? In season 1, we got this whole idea that, yes, somehow they're all communicating and there could be a convergence of them, but we don't really ever get the full convergence in season 1. But boy, do we get it in season 2, right? Because it turns out that those little planty things in that sewer pipe are communicating now to these thousands of infected, and they all descend on this town all at once. So the first thing is the town that we have come to see as stability is not completely destroyed, but certainly knocked off kilter, right? It is no longer this perfectly safe haven. The second element is we are waiting through the whole episode because Tommy, Joel's brother, is out fighting these infected by about halfway through this battle sequence totally on his own. And we are just waiting for him to eat it because let's face it, we love him and we know how this show works. But really, this is a bit of sleight of hand, right? Because by putting our point of view on Tommy, the writers lower our guard towards what's really about to happen. They allow the inevitable to feel completely shocking. Because here's what's going to happen. Through a series of events, Abby is going to end up discovering exactly the man that she's trying to kill. Now, there was no way she could get to him inside of Jackson with her tiny band of people. But he ends up saving her life from the infected. And she ends up convincing him to go back with her to exactly the place where her people are. So a series of events go Abby's way, and Joel's kindness ends up being his undoing. Meanwhile, Ellie, and by the way, Abby has no idea who Ellie is, right? Ellie also ends up in the same place. And this leads to a brutally devastating scene. You see, at the end of episode 2, it ain't Tommy who dies. Tommy somehow lives. But at the end of episode 2, Joel is executed by Abby. He is beaten to death with a golf club right in front of Ellie's face. And the final blow is the piece of the broken golf club right through his neck. And neither Ellie nor we can believe it, because this is the heart of the show. The whole show is about the relationship between Joel and Ellie. The problem is that in season 1, the relationship has already been culminated, both practically and emotionally. And maybe there would be a way just to have, normal tension between overprotective daddy and rebellious young teen be the engine for season 2. But the truth is, it's probably not enough. How is that possibly going to rival the "you're a piece of goods that I'm delivering that I slowly come to care about," right? How can you take a Mandalorian story and replace it with grumpy teenager dealing with protective daddy, right? It's not going to have the same stakes. So instead, the show does the inevitable, because this is how The Last of Us works. This is the engine for the show. The engine of the show is they're going to make you fall in love with somebody. And then they are going to kill them. They are going to make you believe that this is the one character that cannot die. And then they're going to do it. And they gave you a taste of it in season 1 only to save his life. And even as you see the golf club through his neck, there's a part of you going, somehow he's got to survive this. Now, of course, if you really saw this coming, the moment that Abby shoots his knee, you actually could know that he has to die. Because this is a road movie. It's a road show. And if Joel can't walk, he can't be on the road. Right? So either you're going to have to invent some magical knee replacement medicine for the post-apocalyptic world, or you're going to have to kill him. Also, if you have seen The Last of Us, you know that this is inevitable. This is the way it works, right? And this is a total reset of the engine, because it's really only Joel's death and the destabilization of her home that can get Ellie back on the road. Now say that again. This is a road show. It's a relationship show that happens on the road. And the only thing that can get Ellie back on the road is the destabilization, the destruction of the relationship that keeps her in Jackson. So even though, as we're in denial, the final image of episode 2 tells us that we got to believe this, because we're watching Joel's body being dragged across the snow, wrapped in a sheet, and we realize that he is, in fact, dead. And it's devastating. It's devastating for a couple of reasons, because we really, truly have come to love Joel, and we truly have come to think that he is the untouchable one. Just as Ellie has. She's taken him for granted. Right? She's just started to see him as the guy who's always going to be around. But it's also devastating to us as an audience, because the heart of the show is also Pedro Pascal's performance. And we can instantly feel that gap with his death. Now, there's an interesting shift in season 2, which is we have a different theme. The theme in season 1, right, is all about love. It's about a man dealing with the loss of his child, learning to love again, even though that love has some tragic and destructive implications, right? Consequences. But it's about love. It's about two people who don't care for each other coming to be a father and a daughter. Episode 2 is about something different. It's about revenge. And we have two protagonists, right? I know you might call Abby an antagonist, but I'd argue that we actually have two protagonists. In other words, two driving forces of the action who are actually motivated by the same thing. They both want revenge for a wrongful murder. In fact, you might argue, as far as wrongful murders go, the murder of her dad, who was trying to save the world, is probably even more wrong than her murder of Joel, who basically cost the whole world its future for his love of one person, right? So you have these two characters who are both motivated by the same thing. They both want vengeance. And their vengeance is going to have unexpected consequences for the world. The theme has shifted. You can see how this relates if you remember my podcast about the White Lotus, right? That sometimes different seasons will be driven by different themes. And now we've got in episode 3 and episode 4, we're going to send Dina and Ellie out on the road, where they are going to start to encounter different little subcultures along the way to trying to reach a destination. In this case, the destination is Abby. Now, I'm not going to do a lot of spoilers about how that works, but I do want to share one thing with you. Episodes 3 and episodes 4 do once again start to poke at a central element of the engine of The Last of Us. And it's a reason that I have some concerns, and I'm only on episode 4. That's the last episode that's out this season. But I'm curious about how Craig Mazin and how Neil Druckmann are going to pull this out, because they have a little challenge here, right? So the first element of The Last of Us is that they're going to make you fall in love with the character, and then that character is going to die. So far, out of 4 episodes, that's only happened 1 episode in season 2, right? So I'm curious what's going to replace that, right? How are we going to keep that risk factor alive? Especially because at the center of this episode, we don't have a family traveling. We just have 2 people. We just have Dina and Ellie. We do know that by the end of season episode 4, we do know a little secret about Dina that may play in. I won't spoil it for you, but so far we only have 2 characters. So if you kill one of them, then you got Ellie traveling alone, right? So one of the things you have to wonder is there going to be another character joining this group, right? So that we actually have some people to kill off. And if you've seen season 4, you know there is a possibility there, right? The other thing that is particularly challenging is Joel was the reason we were watching, right? Because Pedro Pascal's performance gave a level of weight to this show, right? A level of complexity to this show that elevated it, right? And you're now asking 2 very talented but very young actors to fill some extremely big shoes. And the third element that's going to make it really challenging is that Dina and Ellie's relationship is primarily a relationship driven by love, right? They are so closely connected. So you have to wonder, where is the shape and the tension of that relationship going to come from? We know we have a season about revenge, right? But how is that season going to give us the feeling of The Last of Us? And again, this is what Engine's all about. And what's that feeling? It's a road show. It's a travel show. It's discovering different little cultures. Well, we have that reset. It's a feeling that you could lose anyone you love at any time, just like these characters. I'm curious how they're going to reset that. It's a feeling of people who do not care for one another coming to love one another and the complicated consequences of that. I'm curious how they're going to reset that, or if they're going to need to find some kind of really complicated relationship with Abby to do so. And it's a piece that's primarily a two-hander, by which I mean a relationship between two very complicated people, Ellie and Joel. And I'm wondering if we can get that feeling of the two-hander again in this season. So these are the interesting things that you have to think about when you break your engine. Right? Because sometimes when we work towards the great end of a first season, right, we can get that incredible finale, but it might take us 2, 3, maybe 4 episodes to get those pieces reset at the beginning of the next season. Killing off a character in a feature is no big deal, but killing off a character that is central in a TV show is an extremely big deal, because again, engine does grow out of formula, right? We're going to kill a character every episode. We're going to be on the road. We're going to discover different civilizations, right? It is a formula, but it's really growing out of the primary relationships. And what Druckmann and Mazin just did as they adapted the scene from the video game is they just pulled the only relationship that we could actually depend on out of their show. Which means in this season, they have to somehow build another one that we care about as much as the relationship between Joel and Ellie. I hope that you're enjoying this podcast and it's helping your writing. If it is, then please follow us wherever you get your podcasts, and please share a 5-star review. We are so grateful for your reviews. And if you would like to learn more, come study with me. I have a free class online every Thursday Night Writes, as well as a whole host of other programs, including the 7-act structure class I talked about before, and our ProTrack mentorship program that pairs you one-on-one with a professional writer who will read every page you write, every draft you complete, and mentor you through your entire career for the tiniest fraction of what you would pay for grad school. If you want to learn more, check it out at my website, writeyourscreenplay.com.